All right, hey guys, thank you for joining me. So I am going to start doing a live series every Wednesday. This is the first one, so yeah, every week I'll be focusing on a different topic, and this week is semen retention. So I'm going to get right into this. So semen retention is a very powerful tool that can help any man take his life, his health, his happiness to the next level. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. Just a little bit about myself. I'm Jonathan White. I am here to help you master your sexual energy so that you can magnetize your ideal life. So I help men recover from porn addiction. I help men turn their life around, become self-empowered, learn to take control of their energy, their health, their happiness. And I do this through energetic practices such as Qigong, meditation, and yoga. These are very powerful exercises that have helped me change my life. And I've now helped hundreds of men worldwide gain mastery of their sexual energy and learn to become self-empowered, become masters of their own destiny, really. So just to tell you guys a little bit about how I got into this work. So when I was a teenager, I learned about sex through porn, like most men, and all of my sexual training was done through porn because we don't really learn how to become good lovers. We don't really learn how to perform sexually and how to harmonize our sexual energy for, the better improvement of ourselves and things like this. So like many men, I was addicted to porn, and my sexual energy just controlled my life. These impulses I had, I was constantly ejaculating, constantly draining myself of energy, and I lacked confidence, I lacked motivation. Even into my early 20s, I had no motivation. I just wasn't going nowhere with my life, and I was not at my highest potential. And so I heard about sexual kung fu training, and eventually I hit a point where I had to do it. I always made excuses, well, I can't afford this training right now. I can't, travel and go study with the teacher. But I hit a point in my life where I had to make the change. I was in a relationship, and that one day this girl I was with called me, and she told me that she had met someone else, and that he could, unlike me, he could please her in the bed. And this obviously deeply hurt me. And this wasn't even the first time this had happened to me. This was a pattern I had run into. And so at this point in my life, it was like, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of settling for less, being in these dead-end relationships. I'm sick of being broke, being tired, having no energy, no confidence to attract my ideal life. So I went to North Carolina to do this training in sexual kung fu. I made the commitment. I had to borrow some money. I had to get a plane ticket, but I made it happen. And it was life-changing. What I learned in this training is that in life, we're only taught how to spend our energy. We're not really taught how to regenerate our energy, how to regenerate our health, how to regenerate our happiness. It's all about spending our energy. That's what we're trained to do in this world, by pursuing things in the outside world, always looking for entertainment from outside. And when we're constantly scattering our senses to the outside world, we're draining ourselves of energy. And for men especially, a huge drain of energy is constant ejaculation. I'm going to get into this in a bit. So learning this concept changed my life. And I began studying, sexual kung fu, which includes Qigong, meditation, yoga, breath work. And so after this training, my life was changed. And I had an abundance of energy. I gained the confidence. I learned these sexual practices to separate orgasm from ejaculation, become, a master in the bedroom. I learned to practice semen retention and make this a sustainable lifestyle. Learn to stay balanced. And I no longer felt a need to look at porn and constantly ejaculate and things like this. So it was life-changing for me. And I learned to be self-sufficient. I stopped working 9-to-5 jobs. I was able to become self-employed, to create a business, to create my own work that I wanted to do that fulfilled me and gave me a sense of purpose instead of being, drained. So that's how I got to be where I am today. And I'm very passionate about this work because I believe sexual issues are such a huge source of conflict and tension in people's life. And to me, it's really the reason there's so much conflict and disharmony in our world is we've lost our sacred connection to sexuality. And it's become this source that people use just to try to discharge their problems, to try to relieve their stress and try to take things from other people. So getting back into the topic of semen retention. So why would a man want to practice semen retention? Semen retention is basically where you stop ejaculating frequently. You can still have sex and still be sexually active, fully sexually active. You can even still have orgasms, but there's an emphasis on not ejaculating, preserving the semen, preserving the life force. And so why would you want to do this? Well, when you look at it, what is semen for a man? It's the essence of his body. It's the seed of his body. The body puts a lot of resources into creating sperm. And when you're constantly ejaculating, it takes a toll on the body. It takes a toll on your organs, the resources of the body. So it's like we're born with all the sexual vitality, and it seems like we have this infinite supply. When we're teenagers, we're just discovering sex and we can ejaculate every day, and it doesn't seem to affect us in any negative way because it seems like this bottomless well of energy. But what happens is that once a man reaches his 30s and 40s and he's just been recklessly spending all this sexual energy, suddenly he starts having sexual dysfunction. Suddenly that sexual vitality is gone one day. He can't get it up, or he's having premature ejaculation or other sexual issues, or he's just fatigued, he's exhausted, he's lost that zest for life. So what happens when you constantly ejaculate? You're pouring your life force out the window, basically. You're just throwing it away. And most men, this is a hard concept for some men to swallow because they're so attached to their idea of sex and what ejaculation is. So many men, we're taught to associate ejaculation and orgasm as being the same thing because we are typically conditioned to see sex as a purely physical act, one that's, a method of like going back to, we use sex to relieve our stress, to discharge. Men tend to discharge through sex, and especially discharge into women. And so this creates this very limited idea of what sex actually is. And so most men are not used to having an abundance of energy. And so once you start to retain your semen, once you stop ejaculating every day, something changes. And it may take a few days for some men. It may take, weeks or months for other men. It depends how depleted you are. But once you start to build up this energy, things change. You're no longer living in a state of depletion. That's the biggest thing, is because most men are so used to living in a state of depletion that they don't have any other context to operate out of. So they're like, well, this seems ridiculous. Why would I stop ejaculating? I feel fine. Because they've never felt what it's like to have an abundance of energy, an abundance of sexual vitality. And so when you look at what the sperm is, it grows from this tiny little sperm cell to become an entire human body. That's immense power. It multiplies itself 1 trillion times. That's incredible power. It's like nuclear power. And we can use that magnifying, that multiplying power of sexual energy to grow whatever we want to grow in our lives. We can use it to enhance our health and our creativity, your business, whatever it is. You can use this sexual energy to absolutely multiply, amplify, and enhance yourself. So it's this incredible power. But most men are just tossing it out. They're just ejecting it from their body every single day. And so once you start to build up this energy, it's really powerful. It's very powerful. Just try it for yourself. If you've never done semen retention, go a week without ejaculating and just notice what's different. And here's the thing, is it's a difficult thing for men to do who are so used to masturbating every day, so used to throwing their life force away. They don't know what to do with this energy when they start building it up. They start to get tense, they get anxious. And it's like, well, I need to go look at porn and masturbate and release this energy now because I don't know what to do with it. That's the problem that men have when they're trying to get into semen retention. So you need creative outlets in your life to channel this extra energy into that's building up. This is very, very important, or you're not going to succeed with semen retention. So some examples of what to do with this energy as it builds up. If you're physical type, work out, go to the gym, call up a friend, go to the gym, work out every day. You're going to need to keep yourself physically busy to burn up some of this excess energy. Play sports, do martial arts, be very physically active. This is important. You can also channel this energy into creative projects. like music. I'm a musician as well, so that was a big thing for me, was channeling this energy into creating music, uh, developing a skill, making art, painting, whatever it is that is your creative outlet. Start to put this energy into that, and that will give you a source of sort of transmuting these urges to release that energy as it builds up. So those are just some tips for if you're just trying to get into semen retention and having a hard time, then that will really help. So, and this goes into the issue that men typically have a hard time holding this sexual energy in their bodies, this sexual tension and sensation that builds up, because most men, their bodies are locked up with tension. So as soon as this sexual energy starts to build up, it creates this tension, and they need to release that tension. So they just throw it out of their bodies and ejaculate. Because most men's bodies are locked with tension, their energy channels are blocked up. It's like there's nowhere for that energy to move, basically, except for out the penis. So what you want to do is start to open up the energy channels in your body. Start to open up your body, clear these blockages. As we experience life, as we experience the intensities of life, as we experience traumas and negative emotions, the tendency is to close ourselves off so that we do not have to experience these intensities. And this creates blockages. So we're blocking ourselves off in the world. So a very important step to stepping into your sexual power is to learn to open the body back up, learn to clear these blockages, learn to get in the flow. That is very important, because as you build up sexual energy, if you're going to practice semen retention, you're going to build up a lot of energy, and it needs to be moved through the body. This is the biggest mistake that men make when they are attempting nofap or semen retention, is that they do not know how to work with that energy as it's building up, because it creates a lot of pressure. As this energy builds up, you need to be able to move that energy. You want to clear the pathways in the body and learn certain meditative techniques to directly move the sexual energy through the body. And this really helps you get the most benefit of the sexual energy and truly transmit it into more usable energy. Otherwise, it's just sitting in your balls, and you may feel irritable, you may get blue balls. These are some of the negative things that men run into when they are practicing semen retention, but not circulating that energy. So I know some guys are asking questions. I'm going to do a question and answer at the end of this, so I'm just going to keep moving on for a little bit here. So there's a very interesting study, a scientific study. This group of scientists were doing an experiment with these type of worms called nematodes, and I've talked about this several times before if you've seen my videos, but I'm just going to go over this again. So they took basically 3 different types of worms. They chose this worm because it was a very sexually prolific worm. It was, constantly having sex and reproducing. So what they did is they separated 3 different categories of these worms. The first group, they were allowed to just have sex, reproduce normally. The second group, they were separated so that they couldn't have sex. We'll call these the celibate worms. And then the third group, I think they like genetically modified or something like that, so that the worms could no longer produce semen, but they could still have sex. So this is the third group. This is the sexual kung fu worms, we'll say. So the first group lived about 7 days, just the normal worms that were allowed to reproduce normally, have as much sex as they wanted. The second group lived about 10 days. This is the group, the celibate worms that couldn't have sex. The third group lived about 14 days. These were the sexual kung fu worms that were having sex, but they were no longer producing semen. So this is very interesting, because it shows that the worms that were not ejaculating, simply not having sex, the celibate worms, they lived longer than the worms who were very sexually active. But the worms who were very sexually active and not creating more semen, not ejaculating, the sexual kung fu worms, they lived twice as long. So this is a very significant thing. So what this shows me, what I get from this, is that not only does semen retention improve our lifespan, but when you can learn how to have sex without ejaculating, nourishing yourself with that sexual energy, this increases your health and your energy tremendously. And so this was a very interesting experiment. I like to give as a sort of an example, because it's something actually scientific that occurred. And you can look this up, this article. I think it was in some major like Time magazine or something like that. I can't remember, but anyways, I think that's very interesting. So yeah, semen retention is very, very powerful, and it allows us to have extra energy. This is what all of the spiritual masters talk about, and many other modern masters, people like Nikola Tesla, Muhammad Ali, all of these people, they talk about the importance of regulating the sexual energy and not wasting that energy. It's like, how do you, and Einstein, yes, Einstein, someone said that. Lots of famous people have understood the importance of preserving semen for a man. And a very obvious indication of this is, how do you feel after you ejaculate? So let's say the moment of sex before you ejaculate, and then the moment after you've ejaculated and that energy's gone. So before you ejaculate, when you're having sex, you're at that peak of arousal, your energy's super high. All these changes happen in the body when you're aroused. Your energy's flowing, you feel super alive, super vibrant, super in your body, you're just vibrating at this high level, all the sexual energy is pulsating, this orgasmic energy. You feel great, you feel super alive, super energized, and then you ejaculate, that energy's gone. What happens to your energy then? It's like, ooh, you're limp physically, emotionally, and on many levels. The energy's gone. You usually can't continue having sex. You lose your erection. It's very obvious that there is less energy after the point of ejaculation than there was before. And this doesn't have to be the case. Again, you don't have to be celibate to practice semen retention. In fact, I would not recommend this at all. You can learn to separate orgasm from ejaculation, still have sex, still be sexually active. And this is something I will get into more in the future. I talk about some other things, but basically, for me, the approach is about being able to control yourself, being able to move the sexual energy through your body, transmute that energy, still have orgasms, transfer that energy with your partner. And for me, this is the most fulfilling, powerful path with the most benefits. So, as far as dangers, people often ask me, are there any dangers to practicing semen retention? There's a lot of talk about prostate cancer and things like this. So I'm just going to give you guys, from my experience, some of the potential dangers of semen retention. Number one is the potential to amplify unconscious patterns and negative emotions. So when we look at the nature of sexual energy, what does it do? It bonds people together. It births new things. It amplifies things, as I talked about before. It's like when you've been in a relationship with someone for a long period of time, and then you break up with them, you still feel very connected to that person because the sexual energy literally glues you together. You're still attached to that person on some level. So this is the nature of sexual energy. It bonds us, it glues us to things, and it amplifies things. So if you're a very unbalanced person, if you have a lot of negative emotions, a lot of unconscious patterns, and you practice semen retention without the proper tools, you may amplify these patterns. You may amplify negative emotions. That's why I always teach my students, always start them out with emotional clearing practices to balance yourself and get yourself into a balanced state before you start building the sexual energy. This is very crucial. If you do this, you will not run into the problem of amplifying negative patterns in your life. Other problems, most of the problems in semen retention are related to stagnant. As I mentioned before, a lot of guys go into semen retention and they don't know how to move the energy. They don't move the energy at all. It just sits in their balls and they're not doing anything with it. This leads to stagnance. It leads to irritability, a feeling of being stuck in your life. And how do you counter this? You learn to move the energy. I use practices such as Qigong, meditation, breathwork, yoga. These are essential tools if you're going to practice semen retention. That's why I always teach these tools as part of a sexual cultivation practice, because you really want to be able to move your sexual energy, or else semen retention may not be much fun. So, and then as far as the prostate, the topic of potential prostate issues related to semen retention, I personally do not believe that there's any pattern, any relation to semen retention and prostate cancer. I think that it's what causes prostate issues. And of course, I'm not a doctor, I can't give you medical advice, but I think that it's more, the prostate problems are more in line with people simply neglecting this area of their body. It's a very unconscious part of the body for many men. And there's many things you can do to keep your prostate healthy if you're practicing semen retention, or any man, because 50% of men end up with prostate problems at some point in their lives. So the number one thing I always encourage men to do is get a tennis ball and put it on your perineum and sit on it every day. So that gives you a self acupressure. It massages the prostate and solves the problem of any potential stagnant fluids, any aging fluids, any stagnants in that area. That is very important. Also, squatting. When you have to make a bowel movement, squatting is very important. So this is how our bodies were designed to make bowel movements, is squatting. And so what it does is it opens up this area of the body, opens up the pelvic floor, opens up the hips, the intestines, and this is a very, very important thing. So when you poop, squat. They make these, I forget what they're called, squatty potties or something like that. But this is a big one for men. You know, one of my teachers told me that this is something he noticed, is that Asian people, for Asians, or maybe it was Chinese people, but he said that prostate cancer is pretty much non-existent in those countries because they squat when they poop. So most American men, they can't squat. They're not flexible enough to get into the squatting position. So this is a very important thing. So anyways, without going on too much of a tangent here, yeah, so those are just some of the potential dangers associated with semen retention. But if you do it properly, if you learn to move the energy, keep yourself balanced emotionally, physically, mentally, you will have immense benefits from practicing semen retention, and it is life-changing. So yeah, before I go on to answering questions, I just want to give you guys a technique that you can use to start moving sexual energy throughout your body. So this is very simple. It's called testicle breathing. And this is a very, very important technique if you're practicing semen retention. Do it every day. I do it every single day, every morning, and it just helps you to keep the sexual energy flowing through your body. So I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration. So whatever you're doing right now, if you're sitting or standing, you can do this technique. So what you do is just take a few deep breaths, close your eyes. If you can, close your eyes. And just center yourself in your body. Feel your body relaxing, expanding. So what you do is you inhale, you tighten your pelvic floor on the inhale. So it's like you have to pee and you're holding it back. Tighten that muscle as you inhale. And as you exhale, relax. So inhale, tighten that muscle. Exhale, relax. Keep this going through the entire practice. And now, as you inhale, feel that your testicles, or if you happen to be a woman and you're watching this, you can imagine your ovaries instead. So inhale, feel the testicles expanding like lungs. Exhale, feel them contract. So it's like an energetic pulsing, like their lungs expanding contraction. Inhale, expand them. Exhale, contract. So keep this going. Keep all your awareness in your testicles. And after you start to feel some sensation here, start to breathe it up the spine. So now as you inhale, contract, and imagine your spine is a straw and you're sipping that energy up, straight up into the brain. You can look up with the eyes, keep the tongue against the roof of the mouth to open the back and front channels of the body. So inhale, suck that energy up from the testicles up to the brain, looking up. Hold the breath, feel it spiral there for a moment, a few times in each direction, clockwise, counterclockwise. And then exhale, relax. Inhale, breathe the energy up. Spiral. And exhale. Inhale, breathe the energy up. One more time, really squeeze, really pull that energy up to the brain. Feel it spiral. Hold the breath, spiraling in the brain, looking up both directions. And relax. So that's a very simple technique for moving sexual energy throughout your body. I recommend you do it every day, and you may not feel much in the beginning, but with time and with practice, it'll become more profound. You'll start to feel more sensation. And what you're doing is you're moving the sexual energy through your body. You're keeping it from becoming stagnant in the genitals. All the masters, all the the sort of mystical masters, people of the past, they talk about moving this energy upwards. We're transforming this raw sexual energy. We're bringing it upwards to the higher centers, enhancing our focus, our creativity, our intelligence. So many benefits to this. For how long we should do this, however long you have time for. I recommend doing it for at least 5 minutes. You can do it for longer. This is something you can do anytime, anywhere. You can do it when you're driving or in your car. Obviously, you should stay focused on the road, but any situation, you can just be moving your sexual energy through your body. So you're in this subtle orgasmic state, and people around you have no idea. So it's pretty cool. So yes. Okay, so just wrapping this up now. Any questions? Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to answer some questions right now. Kind of go look back to what people are asking. Where am I at? I'm in Phoenix, Arizona right now. I'm going to be here until possibly the end of the month. Then I'm going to North Carolina for a retreat, a Taoist retreat. Michael saying, feels like the youngest he's ever felt. Different person transformation. Yes, semen retention keeps you young. It's like example I always use is that plants. If you garden, if you grow plants, you'll notice that the plants that go to seed, they die quicker. If you keep the plants from going to seed, they live longer. They are more they're more healthy. And it's the same with humans. If you stop spilling your seed all the time, you stay young because you're not putting all your resources into reproduction. The retreat in North Carolina, it's in Asheville. It's through Healing Tao USA. How long can I last in bed with a girl if I master the techniques? As long as you want. And I'm not even joking. You will literally have, once you really master this stuff, you can last for hours if you want. It's no problem. You choose when and if you're going to ejaculate during sex, and you can have orgasm after orgasm. It's very powerful. When having sex and get the feeling of ejaculation, should I stop and do some breathing techniques? Yes. You stop active thrusting and you do the testicle breathing. Let it move that energy through your body, and just breathe deeply. Ejaculation is caused by the sympathetic nervous system. So keeping yourself in a parasympathetic state is one of the keys to controlling ejaculation. I'm going to talk about ejaculation control in one of my next one of these live series. But basically, yes, stop until you can regain control. And ideally, you want to be able to move the energy out of the genitals during sex constantly. This will keep you from ever having to stop and keep you from going over the edge. Do you suggest to create an emotional bond before getting physical? Yes, definitely. I do not recommend having sex with someone that you do not have deep feelings about, because it gets very messy. Casual sex, when it's just like, a casual hookup with someone you don't know. When you have sex with someone, you are connecting them on a very, very deep level. I would say don't have sex with anyone that you don't want to become, because that's what happens. You trade your deep, you trade your karma, your issues, whatever that person's dealing with in their life, be it good or bad, you're going to take these things on yourself. So definitely be mindful of this and be careful about who you choose to connect with. How do you regain your sexual power that you used to have? You practice Qigong, meditation, yoga, these self-restoring techniques, breath work, eating a healthy diet. You can take herbs. There's certain Chinese herbal formulas that will help you regenerate your sexual energy. Qigong for me has been a huge game changer, because it's a tool to charge myself up every day. I do my practice every morning, and it charges me up. It keeps my energy levels very high, and I'm very focused throughout the day from that. So those are some tips for regaining your sexual power. Some foods like pumpkin seeds, anything with a lot of zinc in them is helpful. Maca root, there's lots of foods and things you can take. Diet, drinking plenty of water, exercise properly. What's my diet? I don't really have like an in-the-box diet. I don't like to Diet becomes a religion for so many people. I will say that I eat organic. I eat a lot of protein, a lot of fats, healthy fats like omegas and things like that. Lots of herbs and superfoods. So yeah, I eat organic, healthy, nutrient-dense foods basically. Sumo squat helps the core. Yeah, core muscles are great. Thanks for joining, Michael. Omega-3 fatty acids, yes, those are great for sexual health and for prostate health as well. Let's go back to see if there's any questions here. Okay, someone asked, do you teach we should clear negative energy before cultivating our sexual energy? Yes, I teach. I always teach emotional clearing practices. In my online course and in my one-on-one training, I always start people with very powerful tools to clear negative emotions and patterns in their lives, because that's so crucial to sexual cultivation. Okay, guys, well, I think I'm going to wrap it up. If there's any more questions, go ahead and throw them my way. But if you're interested in training in these practices, if you're interested in learning to become a master of your sexual energy, a master of your energy levels, a master of your own destiny, basically becoming an abundant, healthy, happy, glowing human being, then send me a message. Get in touch with me, send me a personal message, and we'll talk more about the programs I offer and things like that. Do I do reverse Kegels? Only during sex, I will say that. I do a bit of them outside of sex as well. Okay, thanks everyone for joining. Yeah, I'm going to be doing this live series every Wednesday around the same time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. So, all right, thanks guys. Have a great day.